Good afternoon. It's so great to have so many students and friends and family and supporters of our performers today. And also, before I talk a little bit about this concert, I want to draw your attention to the stage set, which was done with two of our teaching artists, Nicola Gerson, who's not here, but Carlos Bardalis, I think, is here, and some of our e-teens are here as well. They are junior high age students who created this work in response to the work of Joan Tanner that's on view upstairs, and I think it looks pretty cool. So thank you to them. I'd also like to ask you to please make sure that you've turned off your cell phones. That seems to be a recurring problem despite the many years that we've gotten used to carrying them around with us. So thank you for doing that. My name is Patsy Hicks, and I'm Director of Education here at the Santa Barbara Museum of Art, and I welcome you on behalf of the museum. And I'm going to say a little bit about what you are about to hear. I also want you to know that I have not heard the compositions or the writing, so it's all brand new. You are the first witnesses to this art, and I think that's pretty exciting in and of itself. So this concert features student composers and musicians from a workshop led by Grammy Award-winning saxophonist and composer Ted Nash, who returns to us for the third time, I think, or is it the fourth? Or maybe it's the fifth. We've just gotten so used to it, it's like the swallows at Capistrano. We count on him coming back. And it was inspired by Ted's original composition, which was first performed with jazz at Lincoln Center. And he will be performing next weekend, this coming weekend, with our own Santa Barbara Symphony. So if you can't get enough of Ted today, there is more opportunity next week. In a parallel track, Santa Barbara City College students have been engaged in sharing their personal stories as selected by the program director of their creative writing program, Josh Escobar, who's right there, and we thank him and them for their participation. So, both musicians and writers and set designers were inspired by the work of Joan Tanner, an artist who lives here in Santa Barbara, who has been practicing since the 60s and who is herself in her 80s now. And if anybody was an inspiration of how art keeps you alive and well and thriving, she is the one. Most importantly, these young artists today explore the idea of transformation, both personal and collective, bringing word and music together in this exuberant celebration of the expressive and empathetic power of art. We are grateful to our partners, the Santa Barbara Symphony and City College's creative writing program, to the incomparable Ted Nash, to these participants, and to you in the audience for supporting all of their courage for taking the stage. So thank you to all of you, and I'll turn it over to Ted.
Thank you. This has become such a wonderful tradition. She says maybe 5 times we've done this, but this is the first time that it's had this kind of multidisciplinary involvement with people writing spoken word, poetry, and this artwork behind us. So it's really cool to do this. And you have a program. It has the list of everybody in the band and what they play and the name of their pieces, but it's not in the order. So they're each going to just introduce their piece so you know which one we're doing. Just to give you a little background on what we did musically, basically we met on Monday, and we've worked all week. Some of the music has just been started composing during this week. So you're hearing compositions that were written very quickly, and some of the composers up here have never composed before. So this is really remarkable feat by people who don't have much background composing, and it's been so wonderful to work with everybody, and with such great musicians up here. So I hope you enjoy their work and their playing. This is just always such a thrill for me to be able to work with such young, talented musicians, and they're not all so young. But we're actually spanning 58 years, the range of age on the bandstand, so that's pretty cool. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna have one spoken word piece written, and then we're gonna alternate between that and the music. So we'll just go back and forth. And so our first reader is Monet, which is such a great name for being in a museum. And she's going to start out reading her piece. So please welcome Monet.
Hi, I'm Monet Claypool, and I'll be reading Dolphins today. On Cliff Drive, I consider the possibility of launching myself off of one. I am taunted by the edge. Time for a peek, 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 I think. I am greeted by a cloudless sky. The mountainside hugs my tepid soul. I meet the fence and a gentleman. We observe the tide together, and then we know they chose today. The dolphins are in the waves. I graze, graze, graze my hand over the aqua sheet of silk. There I am. Sunlight gleams, 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 gleams on me. I'm certain of the reflection in my rusty iris. Clad in crystals, I transcend to the shimmer. Breaching, I am there in the middle of the sea. Suddenly, I am grateful.
That was beautiful. Hi, my name is Ethan. This is a story about something that happened to me when I was in high school. It was about a friendship that I had with one of my closest friends that for me blossomed into something that was more. It's about the process of self-acceptance that I went through and the transparency I had to show with my relatives, my friends, and ultimately thinking back on it and reflecting on how far I'd come after a few years. Oh, excuse me, yeah, the name is Evergreen.
That was some pretty crazy stuff. My name is Xingyu Zhou. Today I bring with me is a short fiction called Man Above the Clouds. She needs to get above the clouds, exit this poisonous, annoying fog. She needs some sunshine. It is the day off. What to do? She felt so strange thinking about the question. Work can kill, but nobody mentions that leisure could also kill. Knock, knock. Who's there? She opens the door. That is definitely a man above the clouds. One can tell that just by his atmosphere around him. He speaks. I am here to take you, my dear lady, a one-day trip to the top. Your friend has paid for this trip. Guess that is the surprise Sam mentioned. Why not? He won't bite. Probably. She could not remember much about the trip. She drank a lot in the bar above and agreed to go to his apartment for sunrise. When she wakes up, she is well dressed, covered nicely with a blanket, and she has a pillow under her head. He truly doesn't bad at all, she thinks. The man above the clouds is having a call. Save that Leon wine for me. I have got money. No, not from my dad. See you there. Bye-bye. The man above the clouds walked to her. You seem to have had a nice sleep. Now, is anybody ready to have some sunrise? Yes, I have to say that this is too fast, but you are such a gentleman. The man above the cloud gently helps her to the panoramic skylight. The sun is rising, and orangish red line appears on the skyline. We are so lucky today. The sunrise is so clear. The man above the clouds speaks. Want some fresh air? Sure. The man above the clouds opens the window, letting fresh air come in. The time she breathes in the air, she starts to cough immediately. She coughs harder and harder than ever as she inhales more air. In the end, the apartment above the clouds could not save my life. That was her last thought. For the next day's morning news, yesterday was a sunshine day. Just a reminder, never open the windows, especially on a sunshine day. The day that the air becomes extra poisonous, even for the man above the clouds. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Les Rose, and my composition actually started a little while ago. I had written a short fugue for a homework assignment for another workshop. With the opportunity that this workshop gave me, I was able to not only expand on this piece, but transform it into a jazz composition. And actually, it transforms back into a fugue as well. So please enjoy Fugue and Far Between.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ruth Baker, and I want to share with you a piece that I wrote a couple years ago but got the chance to kind of evolve for this performance. So this is Apologizing. You would think that after years in the education system, I would have learned not to cut corners as I walk school hallways, but no, I still do. You would think that I would have learned by now because I can assure you 9 times out of 10, I walk face first into some student who also thought that the commute that always takes them 20 minutes would only take 10 today. But you would think that after nearly 20 years of living in toasted skin, I would have learned who I am and where I fit in. Because on day 1 of high school, after walking around a corner and straight into someone murmuring an apology, I then walk into Spanish class, and within 5 telltale minutes, I'm apologizing again. I know my eyes sing chocolate while my skin hints at coffee, and I know standing with my father, I can look just dark enough. My nana stands in the kitchen frying tortillas on the stove. She pulls me close, lifts my face to hers, and I see again a chocolate melody. I see my eyes in hers. Listen, mija, she says, mija, I love you. But yet I am standing in the heat of July on State Street with a man screaming his slurred, drunken rage at the close circle of lighter, whiter-skinned girls around me. And I hear him ask why I care to live a life of nothingness. Hear him ask why won't us white girls ever listen? I stand half the year when the sun is absent to darken my skin with a white outside and a still weeping, falling Latina inside. A girl begging for acceptance and rest. My multiculturalism is this sense of forever falling apart, leaving me in the dark to question if they will understand. Becoming, noun, the process of coming to be something or of passing into a state. I ask why so many people of privilege are so persistently against the elements which catalyze and renew identity, which allow us to begin our becoming, the idea of our process of transition, of the time of a transformation of identity. In those 5 minutes in Spanish class on that first day, freshly 14 years old, when I listened to the kids, the one who would soon quietly be shifted to another class, the kids with Spanish flowing off their tongues, I saw the teacher turn to me. I saw the question forming in her eyes. She sang out words falling and rising. But I shook my head, carefully surveyed the floor, said a whispered, I don't understand. After years of this exact little spotlight show taking the giddy joy of performing itself with every white Spanish teacher I have had, I realize I was never meant to understand their first question. Because that question is at its root based in white culture, white thought, and white tradition, white privilege. When we live in 2 worlds, we are scared to practice our freedom for fear we are not enough, when this entire concept of enough is something we are stripped from defining for ourselves. While I sit today in the classroom with my story and my identity decided for me, not only by the people around me, but by the textbook before me, I am reminded that we are only given the space to say, I am enough. When we achieve some great triumph, only heard to scream, this is enough. When the world of white decides that they want to hear from us, even though to us it is as daily as breath. I have become the girl that knows that in summer with my father, I look just dark enough. The child, the woman that knows too in winter with my mother, I look just light enough. I have his hair, his eyes, his nose. But I have her mouth, her words coming from my lips. Maybe one day I will learn not to cut that hallway corner on campus as I walk through school, and then I won't have to make an apology. And maybe one day I will feel at peace in my skin, my flowing mixture of dark and light, without feeling like I need to apologize. But right now, I'm still cutting corners and walking into people, and I'm still wondering where exactly I fit in. And that is my becoming, my choice to accept that I will not always be understood. But I can learn to understand myself. And until the world is ready to hear more, that is my definition of enough.
Hello, my name's Simon, and this piece is about winter in Santa Barbara, going from fall to winter, and it's called 1001 Blades of Grass.
Hello, my name is Bridget Ballow, and currently my poem is untitled, but maybe one day it will have a title. We shall see. Okay. From the moment I saw her, beauty could be seen on her delicate face. She was the pillar of strength. Then the world became lifeless and ever so bleak. The blank stares began, and the fear smothered any beauty to be found. She wept and gasped in the corner of an unfamiliar room. Everything became so small. Mirrors became the enemy, and she couldn't see herself. Imminent change was knocking on the door of the small room. She shook, she cried, she silenced herself, but it remained as it was, change just around the corner. She went back to what she knew and begged him and God, but each left the emptiness just as it was. He had been so cruel and made the mirror a place of horror for her. For only younger women could satisfy his gaze. How could she satisfy him? A woman of vast life, yet still not enough for the one who had made a commitment to her and suddenly broke it. She resided in a body that reflected the vastness of her life, but the comets on her form had been used as a weapon. Her head remained down, to the side, and to the sky, but far from the direct gaze, tears trickling yet again. After some time, some peace began to settle upon her exhausted mind, but only for a moment. The mirror, still as tumultuous as it was, pained her, but she found her head higher than it was before. His voice began to dissipate. Her ability to see had come back. The bed became a place of rest and no longer a place for sorrow and solace. To see her again, my heart skipped a beat. The relief flowed in and out of my veins, and all I could do was smile and bow my head in reverence to the woman in front of me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julius. My piece is called Wild Iris and is about my transformation after the birth of my little siblings.
Thank you so much for that wonderful piece. That was, I feel very honored to be reading after that. My name is Caleb Wright. I'm going to be reading a few short poems that I've been writing sort of throughout a process of transformation for me, trying to think of myself and to kind of become the type of person who could stand up in front of a stage like this and read something that I've written and express myself in various forms. So thank you so much for being here. The first one is called Unless I Am Dancing. Unless I am dancing, I am a machine. Left, right, right, point. Always point. I don't think anymore. Just let go and give in. Melt, melt, melt into my shoes. Live step to step, beat to beat, until I'm goop. The music stops. Friends hug me and ask me if I get stage fright, as if the show ever ends. An audience appears in the street even once I've crashed back to earth. It's the turning. I often stand beneath the Norway maples before catching the one back uptown from the studio, waiting for the breath of an exhausted skywolf to rustle branches of autumn leaves. Golden torpedoes zoom past pirouetting maples, while five-finned planes meander to the pavement. Some are blessed with arms of different lengths or diseased holes, or an asymmetric curl that sends them tumbling down an untraceable path. Each leaf is given one moment to be beautiful, performing the only way it knows how. Marching over leafy corpses, I make my way home and wonder what to do. The sun does not care that we will be left in darkness until morning. It explodes over and over, breaking apart and fusing back together. Keeping space rocks in a celestial waltz. Outside the music, time is my ex-partner. I can't find the one. Thank you. This next one is called Where the Water Meets Me, and I wrote it at East Beach. Where the water meets me. Beachgoers nestle into the sand, breaking the brittle crust from yesterday's high tide and fussing over work. I didn't used to work. I used to think the oil rigs out past the bobbing white buoys and fancy boats were pirate ships waiting to lay siege to the Santa Barbara coastline. I used to ask my brother and sister to bury me because it felt cold and safe in my sandy sarcophagus. The smell of seaweed stayed on the shores of Southern California. I went north to learn thermodynamics. Crash after crash, I nearly drowned in myself before finding a few buoyant smiles to tether to. The best times were hiking boots, covered in crimson clay, wildflowers pressed in notebooks next to our names. The salt of another's tears dried on my clavicle. How good it felt to be real, never wondering if the Sierras would up and leave when tired eyes ceded to dreams. Now the tide has creeped back to reveal those jagged rocks I ignored. I remember seaweed smells impossible, like a rotten salt lick. The sun never sets over the water like I think it should. My life is an old friend sitting with me at the boundary between worlds, nudging me to wade in. And one of those lines, my life is an old friend sitting with me, is from Richard Blanco's El Florida Room. The last one, I feel especially honored to be reading here. It kind of started as a writing exercise that I did while listening to Chick Corea's Spain, which kind of reminded me of the fugue fusion that you did. It starts off with part of the Concierto de Aranjuez and then devolves into a jazz tune. And and I think also just being here in front of a jazz band during Black History Month is something that feels very special to me. I feel very privileged to be on this stage. So this one's called "Count Me In." Today's a jam, not a symphony. Drums tell us where we ought to be at, given time. We make up the rest, but the rest can't come from nowhere like lines on a map. It's happening. It's apt. Buzz, buzz, Ms. Basswoman, like a bee in mid-mental breakdown. Make the room a chunky stew with pork belly and all those obtuse noises you've been holding in. Build us a raft to bob up and down on while we sort out those strange tones other folks expect us to understand. What a humble creature you are, leading us all right to ourselves. Prance, little flute, take us where we wish we were. Assure us that the future is past and what was already is. Make the present emerge like a shadow. And those 10 frantic fingers pulling magic levers, unlocking the gates to new soundscapes. The zebra road takes us inside castle walls in the order of old. Harmony is someone to come back for. Alone, each instrument tells an incoherent tale, a mishmash of verbs. What's all the doing for? Everything starts with an attempt, especially the songs we never heard. Somber lyrics longing for a lost friend that didn't strike the artist's fancy. Free-written seeds of a novel that never took root, and the stuff that reeked of calculation. All those putrid songs and stinky poems exist like us. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adam Cabaretti, and my piece is called Cali Bossa, which means Californian Bossa Nova. My transformation is from being all Italian and living in Italy to moving into the US and playing jazz music that I love. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aaron Castro, and my piece comes from very serious feelings of desperation and uncertainty that come from the sinking weight of every action and every day. I feel as students we carry a lot on ourselves, especially because we're the future, and if history tells us anything, we're heading into one that doesn't seem so bright. What I'm reading for you all today is titled, We Are So Small. We are so small. This world is covered in destructive hurricanes that howl everywhere above us. What's out there is violent and dangerous, beyond our understanding. Were we meant to get this far? We are so small. I suppose this is where we have always been. We have no other choice. Surviving here is all we have known. Some of us seem to have known it better than others. We are so small. We seek shelter and cover ourselves in land for protection. Deep in underground burrows, we carve through anything in our path. Only so many places to hide. When you take a spot for yourself, you take it from somebody else. There is no sharing here. You take it or you don't. If you don't, you have nothing. We are so small. To keep all of the space for yourself, that's power. To be able to keep it away from others, that's respect. To learn new ways of hoarding it, that's innovation. To have others gather it for you, that's leadership. To make them fight over it, that's war. Humanity needs no hurricanes to bring its ruin. It has created one amongst itself. To think so naively that this world is what would be our downfall. We are so small. And what can I do about it? I am so small. Without even realizing it, I've understood this my whole life. My friends, my family, we all have. All our lives have been a struggle to survive. Survival has always been a turning point. But there is so much out there for us, and we want to take it, not to own it or destroy it, but to thrive in it. We can be different, and we have been. I see it in all of us. We are so small, and yet we try our hardest to be great. But no matter what we do, no matter how much we personally choose to change, choose to improve ourselves, things stay the same, but they cannot stay the same for long. It makes sense that things are this way now, but just as logic demanded that we change to survive, so too does logic demand that we change again. We must, and we must all be a part of it.
Hi, my name is Oliver, and my piece is called The Alchemist, inspired by the book The Alchemist.
Hi, my name is Alejandra Soto Morales, and the piece that I've written is called Rabbit Hole. Transformation. What's that mean for me? A catalyst expanding, cutting deep, almost close to death. Like this little inner world has begun to end. Like being sucked by a void, pitch dark, like a rabbit hole, to the unknown depths. Raining to open in on any unmet regrets. This little world now has led to feeling empty around. Is that such a bad place to be? Because what if before actions and choices just weren't satisfying me? Happiness and abundance, hopes and dreams, before were far-fetched while working in an endless parade that didn't come so easily. It's a celebration of what little realize. It's of the idea of a long journey towards success and abundance. What good would it be if I continued to project being happy without the sensation? The passion fruits of labor were received in due time, but they were just temporary, till a couple of weeks, till next time. I'll be, of course, grateful to have been part of the parade, because I wouldn't have realized I also wanted to try other fruits like mangoes and strawberries. The parade only had passion fruits for currency, which weren't satisfying me. Thinking about other fruits has led me questioning. After resigning from the parade, walking down to get hired across from the street, the hardware store selling candy. That's when I fell into the rabbit hole. I hadn't noticed it from the ground as I was stepping into the sidewalk. A mundane, scary face is what I'm faced with when dropping inside the void, like the inner world has finally shaken. To my luck, I caught a vine hanging before falling deeper inside. What a close call to have almost died in the void, 'cause who knows what's down there. Survival mode has kicked in, trying to come up with solutions to reach the surface. Examining around to figure out the next move, I noticed a monarch floating gently into the unknown. Flying down into the sinking hole, how can this be? A beautiful butterfly exists. I've heard many stories about how nothing comes back from this place when I was working in the parade. The story said of the rabbit hole dreary when you hear its cry. I sure have gone mad when letting go of the vine, curious to know where the butterfly will go. Losing myself to a storm that seems bleak until you hear the thunder clouds producing lightning. The bolts light up what's inside, flora and fauna preparing for marching towards spring. After hibernating, lightning has revealed itself in the rabbit hole wildlife. Funny how oblivious it was, not noticing the storm was planning a calling that has been forsaken before, which was always whispered to me, especially during the parade. Who knew that a beautiful place was underneath the surface of emptiness? Will you choose to be the true flower you're always meant to be, or will you decide to stay in the roots, contemplating and delaying the inevitable coronation that will sooner or later come to fruition just as the same, alarmingly, if frighteningly? What's life without a little risk? Falling into the void was terrifying in so many ways. But now you can decide to define what's going to change. You'd think the thunderstorm was nightmares the way they scream, but that's where the real transformation exists. I think that's what transformation means to me. Thank you.
My name's Jane Hahn. When I thought about a personal transformation, I thought about my musical life, and the transformation was how when I was younger, I wanted to, either sing. I was a singer at the time. I wanted to sing really beautifully. I wanted to touch people's hearts when I sang, and I knew other people could do it, especially like my teacher, who was a lot older than me. But I could sing pretty, but I just didn't feel I had that thing that will go straight into another person's heart. However, I noticed as I've gotten older, I feel like it's come in for me that when I sing, I can just be so honest about it that hopefully it would touch other people's hearts, and that was my desire. And so my piece is called Growing into Depth.
Hello, everyone. I'm very grateful to be here to be finishing off these pieces and presentations. My name is Miriam Martinez Gama, and today I wrote a poem and small interpretation of my journey of finding my voice and what that was like for me growing up. This piece is called Plagiarize. I lived my life in literature to envision a reality where a fictionalized plot is home. It brings comfort until you can't make a distinction of what is reality and fiction. Through the lens of influence, you can lose your voice between illusions. I became a professional plagiarizer, a copycat without a point of originality, a talking works-cited page, making a desperate attempt to live within quotation marks. My voice is not peer-reviewed. She is not a page you turn in a book. The source is within her, and she doesn't have to be quoted. A big part of transformation is how we embody our influence. In this poem, books were used to circumvent my physical truth, a broken home. I had no biological parents present. My mother died when I was 7. My dad buried himself in his work, and my siblings were never the same ever since her passing. They chose to keep to themselves. Subconsciously, I had to ask myself, who can I rely on? What brings me comfort? The who became what will guide me because people in my family didn't. I am grateful that I chose to engage with literature at the age of 12. It was a coping mechanism, but like most, it can become maladaptive. I became a professional plagiarizer. I had a dire need to find guidance and answers. I was lost in the fictionalized world of literature. My sister Ashley's favorite thing to tell me when I was young was to get my own life. You copycat. Most of my fashion, humor, and political views were influenced and helped me transform into the person I am today. My sister believed that everything I said had to be original and worded differently. I had to be my own person. I know this came from a kind place. I saw my sister's light in our broken home, where we dealt with emotional, verbal, and physical abuse. It was critical for me to find a positive role model because I didn't want to be left behind. In school, we learned that plagiarizing, the act of using other people's work without giving credit, is wrong. I chose to utilize the word plagiarize to describe my high impressionability to novels and people. I forced myself to cite people and books when I spoke. When I made a joke, I gave credit to my sister. When people were thankful for my advice, I made sure to tell them exactly what book I learned it from. This ignited an identity crisis at the age of 18. Was I a quotation mark in my own speech? The day I learned to create a healthy relationship with influence, I celebrated my freedom. July 4th, 2021, a rebirth of Miriam. Also the day I left my house. It's serendipitous that some things just work out beautifully. My time here in Santa Barbara has taught me that I can be influenced and still take ownership of my own voice. I learned that influence is not a direct copy of work. Its function is to uplift. It's not a compass that dictates which way I should steer. It's a catalyst to originality. Thank you.
Thank you so much. How about our great writers? Take a bow, everybody. Yeah, take a bow. Thank you so much. So beautiful. And our musicians, our great musicians, Jane Hahn on the flute and on the piano, too. Les Rose on the clarinet. Simon Blondell. Oliver Sella on the trumpet. Ethan Fossum on the drums. Julius Sherman on the bass. And our senior member, he's 12 years old, Adam Cabaretti. Thank you so much.
I just want to add my thanks to all of you, and especially to you, Ted, and to you, Josh, for bringing these wonderful students with us. And when you talk about transformation, I think this afternoon was one of those opportunities. And it's not just the talent that you all have, it's the way you work together, the way you respect each other, the way you honor each other in what you say and what you do. That's really been an eye-opener and a reminder of how good we can be. So thank you so much for that. Keep writing, keep playing, keep coming back here. Okay, thank you.